Welcome to the Gamecocks Football Captain's Log. I am Brandon Silvers. As always, I'm joined by the captain himself from Morris Island Charters, diehard Gamecocks fan, P.D. Inabinett. P.D., what is going on?
How's it going? Been a sucky week.
Yes, very, very bad weekend. So let's talk about that UNC game a little bit. Lost 31-17. Just bad all around. So let's kind of dissect how that looked. Because if I had told you going into the game, Spencer Rattler would go 30 for 39 for 350 yards, wouldn't throw an interception, would get a couple of rushing touchdowns, a couple of interceptions, recover an onside kick, you probably would have assumed we won, and that could not be further from the truth.
Yeah, all those things are great. But there's one glaring black eye that
what
that
could it
completely
be?
Negated all of those positives. I mean, it's pretty obvious our offensive line is just absolutely terrible. Could not get Spencer any kind of time. He was running for his life the entire. Any kind of play where there was not a quick play or a quick pass, he did not. He got rushed, and that was always running. And that's why he had 9 sacks, which I don't know if that's a record or not, but
9 sacks for a team. Last year, North Carolina had 17 sacks on the season and got 9 against us on Saturday. And then Dak Joyner, our running back, 23 yards rushing, 24 of them after contact. That is essentially, we had a North Carolina player hand him the ball and immediately tackle him based on those stats.
Yeah, he somehow slipped tackles in the backfield and made positive yards on the ones he actually got positive yards on. It was not, I don't know how we got a rushing touchdown, because it didn't look like anybody was going to be able to run the ball at all with that offensive line blocking for. I think North Carolina just thought he was invisible or something for a minute. That's how he got in the end zone.
Yeah, because even with those pitiful rushing numbers from Dak, not Dak's fault, want to be clear on that, he 100%. Was the only person on the team with positive rushing yards. Juju McDowell had a touchdown too, 5 carries, -1 yards. I don't even know. You played, so tell us, how much of this is coaching versus bad players, or is it a combination?
Well, I think there were some bad plays being called, especially when we realized that we couldn't control the line of scrimmage, and we kept calling plays that needed a long time to develop. So that's just asking for them to get upfield and put pressure on Rattler. When we started moving the ball through the air, it was 5-10 yard outs or quick plays, or he didn't have the opportunity to get upfield and put pressure on Rattler. Rattler got tripped up. There was a lot of times he thought he was going to escape those sacks and just got tripped or got stepped on by his own player. But it was the one positive from our offense is, given time, Rattler can throw down the field and do it well. And then when we do quick passes, he can do that very well. We can get yards. We'll move the ball down the field. But until we figure out the offensive line, we cannot run the ball and we cannot run plays. They're going to take a long time to develop. You got to get that ball out in less than 3 seconds, preferably 2, is the way their offensive line is blocking. Because I don't think North Carolina's defense is that great, and especially not their defensive line. We just made them look really good.
Completely agree. And another thing with Rattler that made his performance that much more incredible to me is that after Xavier Legette, we really had nobody to throw the ball to, because clearly Juice Wells is hurt. Or he barely saw the field. Same with Nick Harbor. We had Luke Doty out there catching passes.
That was surprising. I was not expecting to see him out there. No. I didn't know he was even had been practicing at wide receiver.
And so when you get to that point, that's big trouble. Like, you don't want to be facing the top 25 team and you have a backup quarterback catching passes. And that's where we
Which
were.
He did a decent job.
He looked really good.
Surprisingly enough, but you're not the one we want out there doing that.
No, not at all. So it felt all bad. But were you able to get a sense of the offense and Dow Loggins enough, even without an offensive line, to where you could say, okay, this looks at least better than the low bar that Marcus Satterfield gave us, as he continued to do in Nebraska? So good luck, Cornhuskers.
I will say that at least we did not run wide receiver screens every other play. There was a little bit, some kind of dynamic. It's very hard to understand what the game plan was because we only had one thing that worked. They were blowing everything else up. So I don't know what the intent was. But I think we should have realized that the quick pass was the only thing that was an option and stuck with that. And then maybe, swing in a draw or a quick run play here and there just to keep them a little bit honest. But it's very hard to determine what kind of a play caller Loggins is going to be or what the offense should look like. But that's still a question mark that's out there. So
it was just so tough because in regards to the offensive line, like, it kind of reminds me of the saying, if you run into an asshole in the morning, you've run into an asshole. If you run into assholes all day, you are the asshole.
Correct.
It's like, if you have one or two kids who can't block, you got a couple of bad players. If no one on your team can block, you got bad coaches. Like, y'all either aren't recruiting, you're not coaching them up, or something. And to feel this year after year, it feels like we're stuck in a vicious cycle ever since A&M home game 2014, where we're either awful right out we're awful and we know we're going to be bad going into the season, or we'll come into a season with high expectations and immediately look as incompetent as possible. And it just is just bad for my health. It's so bad. It's just terrible. I had hair.
Yeah. College, the Gamecock football is the reason why I don't have children. I can't bring kids into this kind of life. Why do you want to make depressed kids? That's why everybody's on antidepressants.
Exactly.
Gamecock football.
And so, speaking of more Gamecock football, defensively, I know we forced a couple turnovers, seemed to keep Drake May a little bit uncomfortable, but also looked like we couldn't stop the run. What were your main takeaways on defense?
We couldn't stop the runs. We couldn't control the line of scrimmage. Drake May threw, I think, 2 interceptions, and they were really not because the defense was doing anything good. It was just he threw terrible balls on those.
Yeah.
Well, the one of them he threw behind the receiver, and I think Fortune, who was very much beat on that play, he was 5 yards behind the receiver and made up for it, came back and got it. But Fortune, what was the other one? I can't remember whoever caught that other interception. That was a jump ball, just got a lucky bounce and fell into his arms. But yeah, we couldn't control the line of scrimmage because we don't have any size. They got running lanes on us very easily. And our backs could not help but get separated from, their receivers were getting so much separation. It was unreal. It's like we didn't know how to cover at all. And North Carolina gave us opportunities by having drops and get in bad passes, going for interceptions and turnovers. They're the reason that we were in that game until the end. It wasn't the defense. It was their offense just making week 1 mistakes.
Yeah, and like the defensive line, the front 7, 0 sacks, 1 tackle for loss. Going to be very hard to win that way, especially when, like you said, the secondary was having trouble staying attached to receivers. While I tell you what, you give quarterbacks 7 seconds to throw the ball.
Yeah.
That's only going to get worse. It was just, like I said, it just wasn't a good game at all. And we found out linebacker Mo Kaba done for the season with a knee injury. I don't know. Were there any positives you could take away from this game?
Special teams.
That's our saving grace. Special onside kick recovery. We'll always have the onside kick recovery to talk about.
Yeah, we've got the best kickers and punters in the game right now, except for that one punt that went for like 30 yards.
A little rusty,
yeah. But other than that, we got really good special teams. They'll keep us in games. And the reason we won games last year is we kept getting blocked punts for touchdowns. We didn't get any last night. But next week, Furman's got to be beaten up on in order for us to have any kind of confidence.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Furman, play them Saturday, 7:30, ESPN Plus and SEC Network Plus. They're a good FCS team. They're good at forcing turnovers. They forced 6 last week against Tennessee Tech. They won 45-10. They led the FCS last year in takeaways. We can't overlook them, but this does feel like a game that we should win handily.
Yeah.
So what are you looking for in this game to let you know, okay, awful North Carolina game, and we're headed into Georgia after this, but we're still on the right track, probably?
If we can look clean, like we play like we know what we're doing, we're picking up blocks, we're making the right reads, and not being sloppy. We can't have, if we're sloppy this week, next week is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
I'll turn the TV off by the first quarter, I'm sure. Yeah. Furman, we should beat them handedly, regardless of them being an FCS team. But, we could have a situation where it's like Coastal, when we played Coastal or Citadel, and they made those games because we let them, hang around.
Yeah.
I want to see us actually perform the game plan.
Yeah, execute. Can we execute against a team like this? I would like to see some of the younger offensive linemen get in the game and build up their confidence and start to develop, because the older guys we've been using appreciate you, but you're not going to get it by the time we need you to get it. So we might as well try to develop an offensive line for the future, in my opinion.
I would get the younger guys in there as quick as possible. Let them get some reps, so when they're called upon, they're ready to go. Because even the older guys that are there, they're not doing great, and they're going to be gone soon. So let's get the future in there. I just want to see guys in the right spots.
Yeah.
Whether or not they, let a guy slip past them or not, I want to see them making the right moves. And if you can get in front of somebody and, just for a minute, you're going to make them go around you. But Furman shouldn't be an issue. This should be more of a, not quite a practice, but, it's
like a very good scrimmage leading us into the bulk of our terrible schedule. Like, this is the only quote unquote easy game we have, and it's with a top 10 team in the FCS. So it's not like we're playing Charleston Southern again. This is a quality team at that level, but you're right. Like, we should blow them out and look like we know what we're doing.
But we do have a reputation for playing down to our competition.
Yeah, we do. And it's terrible. It's great when you can both play down to your competition and not play up to your competition.
That's hard.
We're right in that sweet spot where
won't
make anyone happy ever. So
no. No, it's just a miserable existence being a Gamecock fan. And it's a symptom I don't see any end to in the near future.
Yeah, I'm getting a little nervous because it's like we talked about last week. You could not lose to North Carolina in the way we lost to North Carolina. Like everything that we couldn't have go wrong went wrong. And so now it's like, where do we go from here?
I'm really amazed that we only lost by 14.
It felt
I don't know how.
Yeah.
But it happened.
Yeah. So, well, let's get the captain's prediction for the Furman game. Smooth sailing, choppy waters, or mayday. Someone get the kids and children out. The kids and children, the women and children, kids, women, children, all of them. What is the captain thinking for the Furman game?
I think we're going to have a good week of practice. We're going to have a good week against Furman, so it should be smooth sailing. And then next week we'll get ready to batten down the hatches.
Enjoy this smooth sailing this week. So that will do it for another episode of the Gamecocks Football Captain's Log. If you want the best tour in the Lowcountry, go check out Morris Island Charters at morrisislandcharter.com. Got all that information for you in the show notes. On behalf of the Captain P.D, I am Brandon Silvers. We will catch y'all next week.
Bye.